everybody, welcome back. This is Jennifer J, and this is episode 70, if you can believe it. It's late, I tell you. I've had trouble uploading these, and it's taking somewhere between like 36 and 48 hours to get them uploaded. I don't know. It's crazy, and I've had a crazy busy first of the week, and I was just getting ready to go to bed when I remembered that tomorrow's Thursday and this is supposed to be uploaded at midnight. So it probably will be late. I apologize. But I'm not going to bed yet. I'm going to stay up and do this and try and get it loaded and say a prayer that it does get loaded while I'm sleeping, I hope. At any rate, if you haven't subscribed, please do. I know we have a few new viewers in the last couple weeks, so yay. One of my business partners actually today just went on and found me, so that was cool. But we're going to be talking about a TDJ, because I know you're surprised. It's a faith thing out of Hebrews 11, verses 1 through 6. And I don't have my timer, so I'm just sorry. It's in the other room, and I'm not going to go get it. But we'll go, and we'll see how long this takes. So one of the first things he said is, the redundancy of the text does not reduce the relevance of the text. He said 2 plus 2 equals 4, and it's still true. And the living word is alive. And it can repeat itself, but it doesn't reduce the relevance. So he says it's potent. It is. It's powerful. It is. He said one cell is strong enough to change you. And that is so true, because this is the living word. And faith is. Things that are real are not of things seen. And as a person thinks, so is he. He said, Enoch pleased God, not people. By faith he pleased him. It wasn't his perfect life or his praise life, it was faith. So if you think about that, so it wasn't his perfect life, he wasn't a perfect person, it wasn't just that he obeyed everything, and it wasn't his praise life, it wasn't because he worshiped or gave thanks, it was his faith life. He trusted and believed God. Now that doesn't mean obeying or worshiping are bad things. It just gives you the information of how important faith is. The other things are good. Faith is important, it's vital. So you can only come to him if he allows it. You didn't see him until he made himself seeable. You must believe. He rewards those who seek him. And there was a war of ideas in Israel. And I'm not going to get too much in the weeds on that, but you know, back in the Bible times when this was written, even before it was written, they liked to have new information. You know, I think about it like when we're on social media, like we can't get enough of it. Like we're on there every few minutes looking to see what's new on there. And that is how it was back then. They didn't have social media, obviously, but they were always waiting to hear the newest thing, the newest teaching, the newest almost gossip, but on religious things or political things or intellectual things. They wanted to hear new things. And I think the Greek word says tickle their ears. They liked to hear these new ideas and things. And so there was all these war of ideas in Israel. Anyway, like I said, I'm not going to dig in the weeds too much on that. I'll let you listen to the sermon. But he says, be strong and stick to your convictions. And that's important. That he kind of didn't go over that a lot in here, but you have to know what you believe and why you believe it. So that's called your worldview. You may have heard that term and maybe don't really understand what it means, but you have to know what you believe about God, what you believe about the Bible, what you believe about Jesus, and you have to know why you believe it. And that's what shapes your view. And if you know what you believe and why you believe it, then it's unshakable, right? So if you're on a firm foundation, then you're unshakable. So then when people come up and try to tell you things that aren't quite true, I know there are some religions that knock on your door and the truth is just twisted enough that you could question it if you didn't know. And so it's important. And Satan does that too, you know, he twists the truth just to try and trip you up. So it's important to know what you believe and why you believe it. And then be strong and stick to your convictions. So the Pharisees and the Sadducees fought Jesus together. So there was the war of ideas. There was Gnostics, and there was Gnosticism, said that they knew God. They knew that Jesus was a step in the ladder toward God, but they could only know God through knowledge. That's what they thought. So the Pharisees thought you got to God through holiness. It was a ritual, routine, long prayers, that sort of thing. The Sadducees thought that your soul, after your soul left your body, that it stayed around for 3 days and, I don't know, hung out, I guess. But they didn't believe in the resurrection of the dead, which that's how you can remember the Pharisees from the Sadducees, because they didn't believe in the resurrection of the dead, which is sad, you see. Thank you, Pastor Tom Wheeler from Pearl Street back in the 90s teaching me that. But that's why Jesus left Lazarus in the grave 4 days, because he didn't want them to say, well, his soul was still there, you know, ready to reunite. He wanted to make sure that they knew there's no resurrection of the dead. His soul would have been gone already because it was more than 3 days. So everything Jesus did had a purpose and a reason behind it. And he said, God waits until you can't, and that's when he steps in and shows himself strong. And that's what that reminded me of. So he left him in the grave 4 days, so the Sadducees couldn't say that it was anything but God. And God waits until we can't. And that's when he steps in and shows himself strong. Faith isn't an ant idea. Abraham by faith. Faith never goes out of style. It exists before the world. It just is. It's a common denominator. It's the gateway to everything promised to you. Faith is not willpower. Big difference. Faith has hope. What God is getting ready to do, you have no qualification for. It's a faith thing. Sometimes God tells you the most illogical stuff. Yeah. And it can be scary. Again, yes. It doesn't have to make sense. It didn't. David was a shepherd who became king. God said he'll do it for you. Don't be afraid or reluctant. Where there is no hope, faith has nothing to do. When you have a low self-esteem for your life, faith's hands are tied. The enemy wants to kill your hope. The audacity to do it without you. The audacity to believe you can do what God called you to do. It's the evidence of things not seen. Abraham was righteous, but his faith was counted as righteousness. Once the book says you're righteous, don't act like you're not. God's waiting on you to believe what he has said about you. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God. The Greek word eons equals ages, not cosmos. The ages were hemmed in. The future is locked. there is a hedge around tomorrow. You know, he says it's hemmed in. He's got a hedge around it. It's already locked. He knows. He's got you. Tomorrow is already fixed. Things that do appear were not made of things that do appear. God has designed a future for you if you'd like to get out of God's way. That would be faith. Faith comes by hearing. Protect what you hear. Protect what you're listening to. External and internal. How you think matters. Don't self-sabotage what God has for you. You got to build something that looks like a fool and wait on the rain. You bought that property, the rain will catch up with you. Your faith controls my message. I'm going to draw it out. Draw it out. It's a faith thing. Hebrews 4:1, let us therefore fear lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should come short of it. Be scared. And verse 2, for unto us the gospel was preached as well as unto them. No faith, no profit. It did not profit them that had no faith. I want to just go back for a second to the Hebrews 1. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. Gosh, there's so much. There's just a little bit left. You need faith to get what God has for you. It's a faith fight. Stand firm. It's voice activated. You remember I talked about that last time, and that was a different pastor, and I just love how God keeps putting those together. He keeps putting the same sermons from different pastors at different churches in different states, all telling me the same thing, you know, the same weeks. It was just phenomenal, and it happened over and over and over and over again. Just wows me. You can't take my faith. He said, you've already got what you've been praying for. If you believe God right now, he will set you free. So this was on June 28th. And so all of this, you know, do it scared, trust God, voice activate your faith, all these things were coming at me. And right after it was over, I turned on K-Love, and Kane, the commission, was playing. He's calling us to walk out of the dark. And he says, can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us? So this is just all blowing my mind as I'm listening to TD Jakes. And this, again, the end of June, I was already in Arizona. I was headed back to Kansas because I was getting ready to pack up my house. I was going to either have to sell it or rent it. The market, you know, I bought it when it was at the top of the curve, and then it had started falling already, and I had just bought it, so I had all this money tied up in it. Didn't know if I'd be able to get my money back out of it or not, selling it so quickly. It was less than a year. But I was going to try, otherwise I was going to have to rent it, but I had to do something because I couldn't pay a mortgage and rent in Arizona. So I was getting ready to go home to Kansas to figure that all out and pack up all my stuff that was in the house and store it or something. And so this sermon really boosted me and bolstered me to go do that, because it was all about faith and doing it scared and trusting God and looking a fool, you know, building the boat when there wasn't any rain. There had never been rain. Nobody even knew what rain was. And there's Noah saying, well, it's going to rain, so I'm building a boat. And that's what I feel like I'm doing. And some people are, you know, cheering me on. There's lots of you out there that are cheering me on. And then there are others that are just going, wow, she is nuts, and she's going to come crawling back home with her tail between her legs. And so, I don't know what God has planned, but I know I'm right where He wants me to be. And there's no better feeling, you guys, than just knowing I don't know what tomorrow holds. My finances are a mess. Today I'm just at the end, really at the end of every day, I just go, well, thank you, God, that today all the bills are paid. I don't know what I'm going to do about tomorrow's bills, but today all the bills are paid. And it's just kind of been like that, you guys, but I'm just trusting Him. And every day He has brought me through. So I am trusting Him for it again tomorrow. And I know I kind of ran through that, and I'm sorry, it is late and I am tired. But I hope you got something out of it, and I hope you'll go back and read Hebrews chapter 4. But also, if you'll listen to the T.D. Jakes sermon, it's so good, you guys. I want to go back and find the name of it again because I don't remember. It's a faith thing. It's a faith thing. And I listened to it on June 28th of 2022. I'm not sure if that's the date he recorded it, but I bet it's really close. If it wasn't that day, it was probably that week. But it's called It's a Faith Thing, and it's out of Hebrews 11, verses 1 through 6. So hopefully you can find it and listen to it because it's astounding. So that is all I will have for you tonight. I thank you for joining me, and I hope that you will tune in again on Monday and that this will upload by Thursday. All right, bye guys.